the Wednesday, November 12th, 2025 Planning Commission. Roll call, please.
Leanne Kashmarsky, White Oak Drive.
Dennis Ferraro, Eagles Nest Road.
Bethany Cody, Lake Enchantment.
Jim Johnson, White Oak Drive.
Linda Winslow, Norwood Street.
Jason McCarthy, Planning and Zoning Minister.
Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes from the previous meeting of October 22nd, 2025.
Move to approve the minutes of the prior meeting of October 22nd, 2025.
I support that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any public comment? Now's the time coming forward if there is. I don't see anyone coming forward. So we'll close the public comment and move on to 6A, new business. Special use permit public hearing request. Proposed short-term rental land use to be located on property located within the urban residential zoning district. Parcel tax ID is 5208 300 043-10. The applicant is Hans Gottsacker, 1933 Norwood Street in Marquette. Jason?
Yeah, Mr. Gottsacker purchased this property in 2025 and began constructing a home and is looking to perhaps utilize that residential structure as a vacation rental. So he has provided an application and paid the fee, and staff is requesting that we schedule that public hearing for our next meeting, which we only meet once in November and December, so the next meeting would be December 10th.
Does he live at 1933 Norwood?
No, I don't believe so. I think that's the home that's being constructed.
Okay, then that's a typo because it's 1953 on the other
It's
info
not
that
listed as
you
his
filled out.
address.
Oh, he may have bought the property next to him. Yeah. I can clarify that for you.
Okay.
Here's that. Store. That's the address that's listed on the application.
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, that's always a good sign, right?
Yeah.
Keep his eye on the property.
Yeah, we can clarify that at the public hearing for sure.
Okay.
So there's no resident, no building on that lot today. Is that correct? It's a vacant lot?
No, it's the structure
building
on
on
it.
it.
in the
They're building on
process.
it now.
Yes. Yeah, you can't have a
Okay.
land use like that without a principal structure to conduct the land use.
Correct, but I thought it said vacant land on his application.
So how does that work? Do you have to have
It says present use of property vacant land.
does he have to have the building completed, constructed before he gets the permit?
I would think that that would be a condition of approval because you cannot have a short-term rental without a structure to rent.
Well, is he gonna get it done by December 10th?
No, but you could put a condition on the approval to say that he wouldn't be able to utilize, obviously, the short-term rental component until the structure is done.
Yeah, okay. I just wondered if we needed to postpone it or anything.
So really what we're looking at is a public hearing.
That's correct, yeah.
And so he'll maybe bring more information when he comes
I would
to the
suspect
public
so,
hearing?
yes.
Okay.
So we don't know where he's presently living right now, Ben?
I don't know where he's living, Jim, no. It's just the application,
It says on the application, it's 1933 Norwood Street is his address.
And I think he purchased the property next door and to construct on
So he must be living next door then.
We'll have to do a drive-by.
I did, and I didn't see the 1953, so I figured it was just that house that he wanted to rent out, but I did see the other one being built there. It's right at, it's a dead-end street right at the end.
Oh,
Hold on a second, because
I know where that
this
is.
might be something that,
The gold house next door is clearly marked as 1953, and that's the address he has listed on his application.
correct.
His address, so I'm sure he must live there.
And on this map, it shows, like, he writes that he owns the parcels. It's to the south and to the west of it, and then to the north is Gary's parcel.
Oh, okay, you're right.
What do we call it? Short-term rental.
According to my Onyx map, he owns both parcels.
If it's a vacant parcel, guys, we should not approve this, because by definition, a residential dwelling not owner occupied, which is rented all or in part on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. And I just actually dealt with this in another township because of a moratorium that was put on them. I would suggest either not scheduling this or schedule, well, he did pay the fee. We could schedule the public hearing, have the public hearing, and then you could use that information that I just provided you along with the staff recommendation, which would be to not approve it because there's no principal structure to rent. So he's speculating on whether or not perhaps to invest and build on that property as an investment property, but he doesn't have a structure to do it on. Or
Well, the structure
within.
is up, it just doesn't look like it's finished and they're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah, on his letter, it says that it's in the
up. I
process.
drove by there
Okay.
today.
of being
Okay, then
approved.
that's fine. Then you can schedule it, yeah. But there has to be obviously a structure to rent. You can't come in with a vacant piece of property and say, I want to
Right.
convert this to a short-term rental.
It says it's currently in process.
It is.
So you say that it would be, if it's approved at the public hearing, it would be with the condition that there be no, of course, there can't
It
be
has
any
to be
rental.
finished.
Finished.
Right.
With all the
Occupancy
Has to have
would be a big
permits.
one,
residents.
because it has to be inspected.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we can do that, sure.
Sounds good. Thanks for your patience on getting through that there.
Well, it's our first experience with someone building a short-term rental, right?
Oh, building a home, but yeah,
Yeah.
desiring to.
Well, it makes sense if he lives out there, he knows the other parcels that he wants to investment
I
property.
suspect he'll be managing it from next door then, which would be helpful too. But we can find all that out at the public hearing.
It actually looks, I was just talking to Jim about this. So the house that he lives in is an older, smaller home, but then it has a big addition on the back, and the addition on the back looks identical to what he's building next door on a vacant lot. Because it doesn't look like your typical house when you see it. So,
When I look at these lots on here, it looks like that house is being built on two different lots. It's kind of right in the middle of this, and he's not back far enough to have it be on one lot. So this lot looks like it was subdivided weirdly somehow. And there's just like a narrow strip in the front, and then it opens up into the back. So it's a bigger lot. I think Mike Camilli has part of the back lot on there, and then he has that other lot, but you can't really do that either. Build on two lots.
Like the house would be split between two lots.
You know, this is a very good site.
That's what it looks
Where's
like.
the drive to the
Structure on the other half.
No, I think you're looking at
It has that little part in the front, and the building is like right in the middle.
So it depends on the size of the lot. You'd have
Right.
to look at
I
the
mean,
tax
You
roll.
might not have setbacks on there at all.
He does have setbacks.
Yeah, but I mean, according to what's the lot show right on there.
So this is north. 18 plus 7 is 25. So he meets the setback requirement.
We could still pass it, but get
Is this
there.
Norwood in the front there?
Yeah, this is the right of way line here. But this is just for the land use. We can sort out the setbacks. I mean, obviously, he's gonna meet the setback requirements.
See how that is there?
Well, and I think that's fine.
I went by a little bit,
On it, he's
written
got
below that lot.
setbacks, he's got
It looks like a different
I will,
drawing compared to what this is.
which might not be updated. Yeah, he might have done
Excuse me.
proposed a boundary adjustment, but
We'll figure it out.
we'll
right?
get the additional information that you're requesting for the public hearing.
I mean, worst comes to worst, you just schedule another public hearing,
Yes, you can table it to an additional
right?
meeting.
Okay. What do y'all wanna do?
Schedule a public hearing.
All right.
Is that a motion?
Yep. And then that we schedule the public hearing for the special use permit for Mr. Gottson's property at 1953 Norwood Street,
Schedule it for December 10th.
December 10th.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. 6B, wetlands waterfront proposed zoning ordinance amendment discussion. Ethan?
Yeah, so I know that you've been working with Planner Powers on perhaps making wetlands a more robust definition in the ordinance and further refining them as making them part of the water body type setbacks, whether that be river, waterfront, Lake Superior, inland lake. And so Eric has put together the staff report for you, breaking it down from what the existing ordinance says and how they're referenced within the ordinance in various articles. And then some proposed language in regard to and in reference to section 303 of the Natural Resources and Environmental Protection Act. We made an effort to streamline this a bit more than what was initially proposed by the Planning Commission. So you can see in red text within the ordinance the proposed changes that staff or particular Planner Powers is recommending to be considered. And I, as the zoning administrator, concur with that. And we had several discussions about this, but we feel that it's a way to address the Planning Commission's concerns with regard to wetlands, but also to somewhat reduce the, I guess, the administrative qualities or capabilities that staff has. We are not wetlands experts by any means. And in the case of a site plan, or in the case of a zoning compliance application, or in the case of a conditional use permit application, there's always a caveat in the ordinance or to allow staff or the planning commission to request additional information as needed to make an informed decision. And so in our opinion, that could continue to be utilized without having additional verbiage in the ordinance if that was to come into play somehow on a particular piece of property. Because as you know, every piece of property is different and it has its own issues and opportunities. So we hope that this is a happy medium between maybe the best management practice, which was initially, I think the best management practice is going to be accomplished, but it does that in a more simplistic way within the ordinance to allow staff and the planning commission to actually have some flexibility with how to administer them and also how to regulate that which is not captured with the NREPA information.
I saw that you, the language that we had consensus on had some provisions for, in Article 18, for example, for how it was going to be determined by the staff. Leanne raised some concerns about who's going to make these determinations, and we kind of agreed it would be just part of your site plan, normal site plan checklist. So I'm glad you kind of eliminated that maybe some cumbersome language that was in that. Our suggestion is on Article 18, so I like this one. I think it's great.
Yeah, and we feel that we have the ability to administer it. And that's the only thing as a zoning administrator that we ask, is that if you do want to amend the ordinance, we make sure that it's something that can be administered and regulated and not out of our hands. But in this case, if a wetland came into play, or a suspected wetland came into play on any of our sites that we work on, we could contract that information or that request to delineate that out and have that surveyed by an outside party or a qualified party, and that we would not bear the cost of that. That would be up to the developer to prove and do due diligence on the property.
Is this kind of a common practice other places to have like a 75-foot setback around the entire wetlands area?
We could put together a spreadsheet, I suppose. I think it's kind of in other communities such as, like, say, Marquette Township, where there's a large portion of Lake Superior, removable structures. A lot of people like to have saunas out by the water, okay? So that's 30 feet from the ordinary high water mark. But a permanent structure needs to be 50 feet from the ordinary high water mark. It is a little bit nebulous, I guess, but we want to come up with something that's not more restrictive than the state requirement, because that would be unconstitutional on our behalf. So we just want to make sure that we come up with something that works for most properties and that is not more restrictive than what the state or feds require.
So you already have for example, in section 2013, there's already a minimum setback of 75 feet in riparian instances.
From the lake.
Right.
From the lake.
Right.
I'm talking about like if you have wetlands and not a lake, just wetlands.
Yeah, that's what,
A 75-foot setback, that's going to be on that also.
correct, that's what we talked about last night with.
Right.
Right, yeah.
I'm just saying, is that kind of standard practice in other cases?
What are the state and federal?
If you follow the NREPA, then that's been the act that's been referenced in our ordinance for some time. And that's an act that has been updated and that we'll take a look at prior to proposing any public hearing on the amendment to make sure that we're in alignment with
Well, these amendments are not necessarily made under the authority of NREPA. These are made under our zoning enabling act authority, because we're not really doing, so you have like some communities in Michigan that have full out wetland ordinances, which are, you need somebody there to it would be a big administrative task to have a full wetland ordinance. I mean, we could, I guess maybe ideally it might be a good idea, but anyway, this is just amending a part of our text pursuant to our own power for health, safety, and welfare of our community. It's not like, it doesn't have to track NAREPA. It doesn't conflict with NAREPA.
Right, we just want to make sure that we're not more restrictive than.
Yeah.
So essentially what we're doing is we're adding wetland to any water body definition, which currently wasn't part of that, so.
I didn't see that, Jason. I don't know why you think it's that way. I mean, we talked about that.
It's in the definition on page 31, under wetland, we've added, and other provisions of Michigan law and publications of the Michigan DNR and MSU Extension Service, a wetland is characterized with the presence of water and a frequency and duration sufficient to hydric soil, vegetation. It essentially becomes a part of a water body. It's not specifically said there, but that's essentially what the amendments would do. It rolls it into the same restrictive setbacks as any other water body, whether it's a navigable creek or an inland lake or a river or Lake Superior shoreline.
And then when we were talking about this before, when we talked to Eric, no one knows really where the high water mark is. And so Eric said that you guys would have to be the ones to decide that. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's typically where the vegetation starts.
But it's not really, this isn't a high water mark issue. This is not, the wetland isn't.
Right, it's delineated.
It's delineated. There's no high
Yeah, I
water mark.
understand.
You know what I mean?
But I'm just curious as to, if they're gonna be the ones to determine that as far as, if there's ever a lot that comes up and you have to build on it, they would have to figure out where the high water mark is and then have your setback from there for however many feet that was.
So just if it was where there could be a high water mark, where there is not a high water mark, then we follow.
No,
No, a wetland's gonna be treated a little bit different, so the
Right,
wetland.
right,
the
that's what I
wetland will
mean.
be delineated, right, on a map or a survey, and the setback will be set back from wherever the outer edge of that delineation is.
Yep, it's not like a high water mark.
Correct.
Correct,
So
yeah.
Would the setback for the wetlands that's not a lake be set back from the 75-foot buffer or from the wetland itself?
From the delineated wetland. So you can't put any structures within specific distance.
So it would be your 75-foot buffer and then you'd have the setback from there?
No.
No.
No? The 75-foot is the setback? To me, it looks like 75 foot's the buffer.
A minimum 75-foot vegetative buffer shall be maintained. So yeah, that is, it's basically, okay, so you have a wetland, right? Let's say it's shaped like this. Now there's gonna be a 75-foot buffer that goes around that. So you cannot build anywhere inside of this.
Right, okay. So there's no setback from the 75-foot buffer back?
No.
Okay.
We got it.
I was just confused by that.
Don't get too close to that pond.
No, okay.
Maybe what would be helpful, and we may be able to add this to the ordinance, but just to do what I just did,
Yeah.
and wrap it out,
Yeah,
and show an infographic on what that looks like.
Something like that.
Well, so we started talking about this several months ago. Eric had prepared his original staff report on it at least 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago. And then at our last meeting, we talked about how we'd like to move this along. And so I then had sent you guys, Eric and you, an amended description of some of the amendments and so forth. And we talked about trying to move, at our last meeting, we talked about trying to get this done before the first of the year. So I like what Eric has done here in terms of just on my own individual basis, I'm ready to move this ahead. So if we would, is the next step for us to schedule a public hearing on this? Is that the procedural?
Yes, and along with that, to send it to legal review prior to the public hearing, so that we make sure that we're not, and I would recommend that too. I know you guys want to get it, I don't know why the first of the year is a big deal, but we need to make sure that this is vetted out through legal counsel too, to ensure that what we're putting into the ordinances.
Okay, so I guess there's another aspect to it too, which is, under our ordinance, when you amend the text of the ordinance, you have to satisfy, you have to give findings of fact, 8 different criteria. So I sent you and Eric a proposed findings of fact. I kind of worked on it, tried to outline it and do it. And I've now pared that back and done a couple of different things. But the finding of fact would be made at the time of the public hearing?
Correct.
Okay, it wouldn't be, you don't have to have that as a preliminary to move it forward, just schedule the public hearing, right? And then you vote one way or the other, and then if it's voted in, then you have to recite these findings of fact.
That's right, you have it right, Denny. So if you schedule the public hearing, then at the public hearing, hopefully there would be public, or maybe not, you would describe those 8 criteria in detail as to why the planning commission's making this recommendation.
So then, my other question to you is this: I've prepared my ideas of why this satisfies those 8 criteria, and I've made copies for my fellow commissioners, and for you and for Eric. So as long as we're in an open meeting now, I think, would it be appropriate for me to share these with my fellow commissioners?
As informational?
As informational, yeah,
Yeah.
so that they can then take a look at it and add to it or detract from it or whatever they think, so that when we do get to that point, we're kind of already, a little bit step ahead.
Sure.
Okay, well then I'm gonna pass these out to my colleagues here.
So,
These are the proposed findings of fact.
so Denny should make a motion to have it be sent to legal?
Pass it down. I think there's enough there.
Or when does the township board get it?
Not until after the public hearing.
Okay, all
Not
right.
until after it goes to the county planning commission.
Okay, so yeah, so he might want
It's
to
a
make
process.
that motion. So we can take this home, but I think you can make a motion to have it move forward without discussion of this.
Right, that's why I wanted to get clear with Jason what the procedure was. You don't have to make any findings of fact until the vote taken out. So pass it on to the council.
Right, yeah, this would be a component of the staff report.
So then, if someone would want to make a motion tonight to move this forward, would it be a motion to schedule a public hearing and have legal review in the interim? Is that how you would phrase it, or?
I would prefer to not schedule the hearing, but to move it to legal review.
Okay. Okay, and, well, so when Attorney Zappa reviews it, will he also be thinking of whether it meets the 8 criteria? Because if he will, then you can share what I proposed with him, just to give him some idea that we're thinking about these things.
Yeah, we would send this all as a package.
Okay, so any kind of motion tonight would be to move it to Attorney Zappa for review?
For legal review.
Okay, I see.
How do you determine the edge of a wetland to start your 75-foot buffer?
I don't have the answer to that, Jim. That's something that we would have to rely on an expert to delineate.
You know what that means?
But
Well-
typically, they're marked out.
There's a couple of different ways. I mean, the people who do it look at the type of, you can tell, like, if there's hydric soil where there's not the normal type of vegetation that you would see in a non-wetland area. And if it's a seasonal wetland, then during the season when it's wet, it's covered, it's wet. And then, but that's why you have to have someone who knows what they're doing, say, okay, this is a wetland. Now, a lot of them, I mean, when I moved into my place 8 years ago, the people who originally built the house were really good. The guy died, but they gave a folder, and they mentioned in there that it had been, areas had been already delineated as wetland. And my wetland is a seasonal wetland. It's a forested and seasonal wetland. So during from June to the end of August or September, it's dry. But all the other months, it's wet. And so you look at that, you look at the type of trees, like hemlocks are a good example of wetlands. And then if you look at the roots of the trees, and you see a lot of roots above the ground, that's indication of a wetland. Of course, if you see, if it's like a bog or a swamp, then it's always wet throughout the year. So there's different criteria, but there are a couple people that can do this at a not a very expensive cost, and they work for Superior Watershed Partnership. Jeff Cook and Jerry Grant, both are certified wetland delineators. So you don't necessarily have to have a survey to delineate a wetland. Because if it's on somebody's property or a parcel that somebody buys, that's already delineated in terms of the parcel, meets and bounds, or whatever. But everybody, all up on Eagles Nest Road, all the new lots that are being built on, you see these little red flags, and it's got wetland, wetland, wetland. So it's pretty common. I mean, Trimedia does it, but I think they're expensive.
So they would just go out and stake it, you know, like put the markers there, and that's where.
Yeah, they
where it is.
just get these little, they're little wires with a little red flag on it, and it says wetland. And then they just kind of mark it out. So it's more, it doesn't have to be a survey of the wetland, it's not necessary.
Okay.
It's just a delineation.
Reminds me of a mystic.
Well, I'm just wondering, yeah.
Mystic color.
I mean, if you just happen to build there not knowing this, and, you know, somebody comes out there and puts those markers there and you're within 75 feet, then, you know, so you should get somebody there to delineate it before you start any kind of building it.
That's probably a good idea. I mean, there's probably some building lots that you'd never think of as being a wetland at all, you know. I mean, it may be very obvious, you know,
So a wetland doesn't even really have to be wet.
no, I have seasonal
If there's
wetlands.
different plants there, according to what I'm seeing in here, if there's different plants there, then it's a wetland.
Well, and there's also wildlife, like I've got, what are the little things that crawl across Prescott?
Salamanders.
Salamanders. I've got salamander,
Spotted salamander.
and I've got peepers.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a good indication of wetland too, so, there's different things, but I mean, I noticed that many of the projects that we've approved, at least since I've been on here, what's the guy's name, Savalas?
Oh, the engineer.
Satellite.
Savalainen, thank you. Many of the site plans that he's presented have already, have the wetlands delineated. So it's not a mystery, you know, I mean, it can be done,
Okay. That helps. What else? Any more questions or comments with this? And do you want a motion to approve this, Jason, or?
A motion to send it to legal review would be
Okay.
appropriate.
All right.
I'll make a motion to send the proposed amendments, tax amendments to the ordinance with respect to wetlands that Eric has put in his staff report under item 6B to the attorney's appa for legal review,
Along with your notes.
along with the proposed findings of fact.
I'll second it.
All right. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Got that done. Unfinished business, none at this time. Correspondence. Marquette Charter Township Master Plan 2025 update, draft sections 5 to 8, which we have here.
Yeah, this is more informational than anything. We want you to have and see a draft of what we've reviewed and then sent back to the consultant. And now what we're providing you with are actually pretty fairly good draft chapters or sections. So we're moving right along here, and sections 5 through 8 are provided for you tonight. So if you see anything that you think needs to be amended or changed or reduced or added, feel free to shoot us an email. And if there's something major in there, let us know. But hopefully staff's been on top of that. I think we have been. And we just received sections 9 and 10 yesterday or earlier in the week. So we'll get those reviewed and then back to the consultant for a final draft. And then once we get that draft finalized, we'll give you those sections. But we're getting to the point here where we'll get pretty close to the end by the end of the year. By next month, we should be pretty close to being done, which is right on kind of on par for our grant obligation, which is, I believe, the end of February.
So, we will be able to give this out to the public for review at some point?
Oh, yes, there's a
So it-
63-day review period.
63 days, and so we should have this in February, final?
It might be March. We may be asking for an extension due to some of the
Unforeseen.
medical issues that the consultant had. But
Okay,
I will say that there'll be plenty of opportunity for input yet, and there'll definitely be a public hearing. And then, once it goes to well, it's really a planning commission document, right? So the planning commission adopts it, and then the township board would adopt a resolution of concurrence if they support it. But typically, that's just a formality.
okay. The township board, I was mentioning earlier, we'll be looking at this when we are doing our priority goals for 2026.
Good.
So that'll probably, they need to follow each other in my mind. So if we have any suggestions, just to make sure I have this correct, for revisions or changes on chapter 1 through chapter 8, we email you and Eric together. Is that correct?
Either one of us or both. Yeah, that's
Both.
fine.
Okay. Both is always a good thing in my mind. Okay. I just have some grammar changes, not important enough to make a big deal.
So Jason, you don't want us, for example, last time we got chapters 1 through 3, so you don't want us to say, we approve of this.
No, that's not necessary until we get the complete document. We're just trying to get you in the habit of reading this right now. It should be 1 through 4.
You're right, I'm sorry.
Otherwise, I made the wrong copies.
You're right.
But yeah, take a look at it, see what you think, you know, we think we're plugging along pretty well, so, we should be wrapped up here fairly soon, and we'll have a complete document, we'll get you a binder, we'll 3-hole punch it for you, get it all together so you can see it as a complete document, but we wanted to get you at least these, while we're in process with the rest of it.
I'm kind of surprised, just looking at this real quick, that the biggest percentage of increase in rent is in Trowbridge Park from 2010 to 20. You see that 49%? Even more than Marquette, I'm kind of surprised at that.
Oh, well, we have Curran
Yeah, I
housing
would think
rental
that the
group.
apartment complex
Yeah,
is
huge.
skewed that.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
huge. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions about 5 to 8? Reports, Township Board report, Linda.
Sure. The Township Board met on November 5th, so that was last Wednesday. There wasn't a lot on the agenda. We did not have a library report or a presentation from the Lake Superior Community Partnership. Those people were unable to attend, but Greg Zybert and his employee came along and did present about the sheriff contract and the number of people who are in the jail and the overflow as to where it's going. And so that was interesting. If you have time to watch the film, you can listen to Greg talk about that. We did talk briefly about the number of people who have more than one trash can, and we'll probably address that next year because we're all paying the same rate for trash pickup. So if you have more than one trash can, you're contributing more to that particular landfill. They did hire a probationary firefighter. And we did talk about when the roundabout on Venture Drive would be open, but it's open.
It's open.
It's open. And then we talked about the blacktop plant. I'm not sure, the asphalt plant was supposed to close last Monday, but we still have some construction going on, so maybe it didn't close yet. And we talked about the capital improvement plan a little bit. Master plan, I said that sections 1 through 4 were out for review to the planning commission. And we reiterated that the planning commission does not necessarily know the retail development going into the shops of Marquette. That's not our role. So people were supportive to share that on the video. So that was it. And on a sideline, one of the projects that we did approve on Warner Street, it's I'll call them two apartments or townhouses. They're there. So they should be ready for occupancy maybe within a month. They were putting sewer and grinder pumps and,
Is that fish filling lease?
yeah.
Correct.
It is. So more people coming to the township, I no doubt. I think they're rentals, but I could be wrong. So, yeah. Any questions? Any comments?
Has the Renovari purchase agreement, has the closing occurred yet?
It had not at that particular meeting. They were waiting on some funding from the bank, I think was my understanding. They have, and I don't know if it's closed yet. Jason, have you
I
heard?
don't.
We don't know. But I'm happy the roundabout's open, I can tell you that. And, yeah. So I'll ask the board, or we can ask John Kangas, who would probably know immediately if the money's been paid.
I would think it'd be in the news if, once it gets signed, so.
Yeah, I don't know. You just have to wait, those of us who've bought in houses over the years know that sometimes the bank takes a little bit longer than a week. Kind of takes a couple months for some things to go through. Remember, waiting? You're going, oh, I hope they call today, right? Bethany, right? It took a while for ours to go through. Yeah, so,
I'm sure this deal's a little more complicated.
Yeah.
yeah. So anyways, I'm sure we'll hear. You're right, Jim. Maybe it'll hit the news.
Any rec committee report?
Nothing to report other than they will meet, and I'm going to have a meeting on Tuesday, the 18th. By that time, we should have a chance to review the goals and objectives, which was transmitted to us earlier in the week, and that does cover some recreation items that we can funnel down to them and have them comment on.
How has it been on the well road with the new, well, I shouldn't say new, with the leashes on the dogs, and any more issues with that, or
I haven't heard a word about it in months.
planning and zoning report?
Sure. Prime Constructors or Prime Construction has moved into the former auto parts store on the highway, and they're gonna have just an office there. So office is a permitted use, and they did a change of use from retail to office at that place. Culver's is gonna add a secondary drive lane for their drive-through, and then they're gonna relocate their dumpster enclosure further to the south. But essentially, you're just gonna be able to take some more volume through the drive-through. So that is being reviewed right now by staff. Of course, the master plan is going on. I'm sure Planner Powers is getting ready to launch our business license applications to go out for the year. And one of the things and changes that we're gonna make this year is to have a checkbox for addressing. So the fire department's been hard on us for getting addresses on buildings the way that they should be. So we'll remind in a friendly way to our business community to make sure that they have addresses that can be viewed from the public right away. And that's for, new firemen, old firemen, and emergency service response units. So that's something that we're gonna try to ramp up a little bit, is getting that requirement done. And then just, day-to-day stuff, but that's been the bulk of what I've been working on since our last meeting. Unless there's any questions. Oh, there is a housing workshop that was passed along to me today that I will send to you tomorrow morning. And it's just well, you'll see it when you get it, but it's basically a webinar, and I got the PDF of the slides, so I'll share that with you.
Jersey Mike's start yet? We're talking about it, but I haven't.
Not to my knowledge, no.
No.
Jason, speaking of housing, several meetings ago, when Lynn was in attendance, she mentioned that the township owns two lots in Middle Island Point neighborhood, township property. And I just wondered if there was ever any thought about, maybe having some housing on that.
I'm unaware of any properties that the township owns in Middle Island Point. But I've been here for a long time, so I'd love to see them. I know that the township has a very small, like I'm talking 20 by 10 foot piece of property on the lake, which was reserved for a potential future water source inlet. But that's the only property that I'm aware of. So that would be news to me.
All right, well, I'll just send, let an email and ask her, because I was just curious if we have, if the township does have some property that's not being used.
Middle Island Point is a homeowner's, it's like a site condo.
Right. Like an old co-op or something.
So that'd be very surprising if
All right.
we did, yeah.
Well, maybe I'll surprise you.
I mean, I don't know everything, that's for sure.
You don't?
Nope, not even close.
Jason, a while ago, the old Fish and Wildlife building, we had approved that for a growing operation. Is there anybody in there now or doing anything? I never see any vehicles there or?
Well, a lot of the vehicles, I think, pull right into the place there, but yeah, I have no indication that they're not operating there.
Okay. Anything else for Jason? All right. Any announcements? Any public comment? And any additional comments by planning commissioners?
I had the opportunity to attend the one planning meeting where the fire department presented what their needs are, that they're looking for help. And I found it very, very interesting and educational. And there were good questions asked. And one of the things that astounded me was the fact that with the veterans facility moving into the township, that apparently, like the city, Marquette General Ambulances make on average 200 calls to Jacob Eddy a year. So that adds 200 calls where right now they're averaging, they figure 722 a year. And so to add another 200, that's increasing by at least a third. So that's really significant, and that, it's hard to, like they've lost people that they've brought on to the department because, one of the other things was about the response time and how the response time has gone down because people can't afford to live here and they're living, or they can't find a place to live in the township, so they're living in the city or they're living somewhere else, and so their response time to get here, that all adds into their response time to go out on a call. And also the fact of not being able to, to go, if you're gonna hire somebody and they do need to be close to their job, right, in this type of situation, not being able to find that housing that they can live in. So it was very much an eye-opener to hear the fire department talk about this. So they've really got some big challenges coming up. And they're going to have increased calls with the new facility being built.
So are they understaffed? Is that what the issue is,
They are down a couple of positions, I believe. But they're, I think more so to the point is, what do they need to do to be able to respond to, like with the increased call load and stuff that's coming? Because they know it's going to be much greater than what they currently have. And they're already experiencing some issues with being able to hire or keep somebody. So,
when is that, when will the veterans be living
I don't know.
in Jacob Eddy?
I don't know.
We have any idea when that's gonna be ready to,
Next year,
in like summer or something?
very end of next year.
Very end of,
I would think it'll take them that long.
okay.
Yeah, so anyway, it was just very interesting to attend that and hear what they had to say.
I think it's taped, not, it's not videoed, but I think Randy, did audio tape it, and you can listen to the budget meeting. And it was the first day, right?
It was the first.
It was the Tuesday.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I couldn't go the second day, but was able to make that one.
Mhm.
There's a lot of good information. That's all.
Yeah, so I have one thing. Is it my turn?
Okay,
So, the township, after the last township meeting, we talked about doing a giving tree where the Christmas tree has little tags on it. And, the United Way has a group of college students that must, manage that particular program. And so the giving tree is gonna be in the lobby by, Andra, if anyone's interested in purchasing something for someone in need this year. So it's there.
Is that like you just write a check and?
No, you go shopping.
You can
And
shop it.
Oh,
They'd be happy to take your money though, I'm sure.
I'm sure they would, but part of the idea, I think, is that, we teach old people, young people, middle people, everyone the value of, getting out there, Christmas spirit, buying something that you can give to someone who, and on the tag it says wants and needs. I thought that was pretty cool. I'm buying the wants, okay, because I like wants. But, yeah, so if you're interested, it's there, and you can grab a tag and you just bring it back. I don't know if it comes back unwrapped. I mean, I guess I shouldn't wrap the gift, right? I don't know. I'm gonna find that out though, so I'll let people know.
John or Bethany? Nothing?
Nothing.
I just wanted to tell Jason, since he wasn't here for the meeting, I think it was last time, we saw the pictures of, the lot next to Steve's, all cleaned up and before and after, and that was amazing how much better it looked, and had a lot to do with you getting on and everything, and so.
Well, that's Planner Powers. I'm not gonna take credit for any of that. He stuck with it and did the administrative work that's needed on a property like that.
Okay,
I mean, I nudged him along and made sure he stayed on top of it, but it was his efforts that really ended up getting it to legal counsel, getting it to the court system, getting it back, and then, eventually getting it done, so.
yeah,
It's a challenge because the property owner has rights too, and you have to abide by what our protocol is to a T to make sure that you don't get pushed back against for taking care of a property like that. But I won't say any more, but yeah, it's cleaned up and hopefully it stays that way.
yeah, look great. Okay. Other than that, nothing else, so meeting adjourned at 7:00.